This is Daf Yerushalmi Yoma, and the article Oz V'Elisha were mamish at the top of Hamid Aleph. Bishmini Istani. We're back to talking about the Yom Miluim. Talking about the 8th day of Miluim, and that in the Vilna is on Daf Gimel Amud Beis. No, sorry, it's on Daf Daled Amud Aleph. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8th line down. So Gemara says, Bishmini, on the 8th day of the Miluim. So, East Tani Tani, Nimshach, those who say there was a Mashiach. East Tani Tani, Lo Nimshach, those who say there was no Mashiach, the Mishkan was not anointed. East Tani Tani, Nispark, East Tani Tani, Lo Nispark. Those who say that was taken apart, as we saw yesterday, that's Yosef Yehuda, and East Tani Tani, Lo Nispark. Those who say it was taken apart on that day, and those who say it was not taken apart on that day. Rabbi Chanan said, Pashid hu lon, it's obvious to us. Mind my name Shach, if you hold it was Nimshach, and Nisparek, because it didn't Mashiach when it was taken up in the, we said yesterday, when it's in the apart stage. Mind my lo Nimshach, the opinion shows it wasn't anointed, lo Nisparek, wasn't taken apart. Mind my name Shach, Nicha, he says it wasn't Mashiach on the 8th day, that makes sense. To see, Vayim Shachem. It says, the Pasuk says, Vayim Shachem. The Pasuk is Bamidbar Zayin Aleph. Vayim close Moshe Leshkim is Amishkan. That day when he finished doing the Akamos, the 8th day. Vayim Shachos, so Bekadesh, so it's Kokilov. It says, Berach Kokilov, Vayim Shachem, Akadesh, Osam. It says the Pasuk that Vayim Shachem. Now, the Kormei says, well, wait a minute, it said already Vayim Shach, previously in the Pasuk, right? So Korban says, yeah, but that's not actually the second one specifically. Let's see the Korban. See Shachem the Krei Seru. To see but he be close Mashal. Kim says Korban Shachos of Kesh so. It's Kokilov as Berach Kokilov and Shachem Kesh so. Which the we just read. The Kasha Vim Shachos of the Reisha, where it says Shachos of the beginning, but Lam leaving Shachem in the Sefer, right? I'm Mishkanamika, so it's going to the Mishkan. I'm Chashim Mishkan Kama Pamim. He did it several times, and evidently on this 8th day as well, right? That's pretty expressed in this pasuk. So the opinion was told Lonim Shach, Ma Mekayim V'Im Shachem. What's to do with this? Again, that's asking just on the simple wording of the pasuk. You also learn like Karmeda, what do you do with this Kroy Seira, this additional wording at the end of the pasuk? So it's as if, right? It's as if they did Mashiach on that day, even though they already had done it previously. But it's mentioned again because although they didn't have to do it, it's as if they did it. They get credit as if they did it. Manavan Yisrael, who says it was taken apart on the 8th day, Nicha, it says, Shivas Yomim, Yichapru Es HaMizbeach. So everybody changes the girsa here. So first of all, they changed the girsa. Although I don't see where it says in the Kormeda explicitly. Let's see. It is in the Reb Chaim and also in the art scroll. So, Madamar, it should be Loni Sparek. Nicha, the Steve Shvas, and Chapur Mizbech, and they changed that because that is not the Pasuk. The Korban A changed the Shivas, and Chapur Mizbech, Kidash, the Soyez Bech, Kosh Koshim, Konagab Mizbech, Kidash. So, as Korban says, Masha Shabchoyim Amidam Bichodash. Lokin Kapar Lama Bechol Shiva, Lodai Bekapar Achas. So, in any event, it was we're assuming Kapara means the Mashiach, and that that's the Kabbalah Mizach, and therefore it says only 7 days, right? So Mandamar Loni Sparek, there wasn't taking part in the 8th day, anointed again. Nicha Tichsi Shivas Yamim Kapel Mizbech. Mandamar here again, Chaim takes out the word lo, the word Mandamar Nisparek. Mamakayim Shivas Yamim Kapel Mizbech, right? What do you mean? There was also kapara. There was also mshicha on the eighth day. Okay, it's so um, uh, obviously we could give a similar answer to what we said before. That's well, they were Moshe on the eighth day. It was Kilum and Shach, so that's why it doesn't say it here in the pasuk. But the pasuk anyway, the Gemara gives a different answer. Gemara says that no, kapara shubadam. That's the kapara which it's referencing in that pasuk is the dam. That was all 7 days. That was only 7 days. Maybe it wasn't Mashiach, maybe it's only Malay Makas Kilim Nimshach, but the kapara was for the 7 days, and that was kapara b'dam. And it's kador the tani. It's like we learned al zeh. The on this and this it says whenever they did that for us or for Yom Kippur or for a para, they're mazim all the paraduma ashes that they had available from all the years. That this water should be in lieu of the blood, which was during the Shibi Miluim. That's what it says. If a part of the dam she mazin aloram bonav Shibi Miluim shtem v'yaz aloram b'gomer she shima imim malei adam koshu aslem kechokim rishon all 7 days they did like the first day and the mizbeach also. Right, so they did on the person, on the people, and on the Mizbeach, 7 days of blood, and the Doiris, they did 7 days of water for Sreifas, Pora, and for Yom Kippur. Okay, Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Yosemer, Tachas Adam, Tachas Shemer HaMishcha. That he holds that at the time of they also did the Mashiach of Aaron and his children for 7 days. The Kohen the spark. There was a piruk on the 8th day. Perhaps they did an additional day on the Mishkan, but on the Aaron and children there was Shemin HaMishcha for 7 days. Now we get back to the priest of the Kohen Gadol. Okay, so what Pirush ben Meseira explained why would you separate it for 7 days? Because Shem Yavel Ishto Nida. Maybe he's going to have relations with his wife who's in Nida, and then he's parcel for 7 days, just like a woman who is in Nida is 7 days of Tumli Daraisa, so to a man who has relations with Nida is Tumli for 7 days. So therefore, you have to separate. Not that he should have relations with his wife's need. If have relations with his wife's time would be okay, because they only need to do the avodah as tefillah and harav shemesh. So that's possible for him to have relations with his wife normally. The question is his wife was in nida. So ask the Gemara, "B'sochel shum al nidos?" What? He's going to deliberately have relations with his wife who's in nida? Yisrael is not choshen. Certainly, Kohen Gadol shouldn't be choshen. So it's more. It could happen by accident. Like we learned over there. Torah of husbands having relations with his wife who was Torah. Amar lo nitmeisi, and she says, I became Tameh. So Piresh miyad chayev. He can't just separate from her because if he does, he's chayev a korban. Why? Because he was over b'shogeg, obviously. Shetziyaso hanoala kibiyaso. Because going out with kishui, going out with the aver still being in a state of arousal, is considered to be the same as coming in with the aver in a state of arousal, and therefore that he's chayev for that yitzia. Pirish miyad chayev shetziyaso hanoala kibiyaso. So he has to wait till the aver is made, till he's no longer aroused, and then he separates himself from her. There's a whole thing to how he does that. But in any event, it can happen accidentally. You're afraid it's going to happen accidentally, right? So, ashkachas, you come Amar. So you come out saying, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, that which Rabbi Yochanan says. Now, Tzricha ben Meseira. Rabbi Yochanan said you have to separate 7 days learn from Miluim requires Ben Meseira to explain why can't he have a relationship with his wife? So and that you have to learn out from Ben Meseira, right? And Mandam Rabbi Yochanan Tzricha ben and vice versa as well. Now the Gemara is going to explain it, right? Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan. If it was just mentioned Rabbi Yochanan, they need preach of 7 days learn from the limb. But we didn't mention Ben Meseira's issue. Havamin, we should say, Yishamish mitaso. You can have relations with his wife, normal way, and go to the mikveh. V'yishlam mishkas a and then go, for the transition periods between night and day, day and night, night and day. Like I said before, that's to the lishkas balejin, which is the lishka of the Kohen Gadol Beis Hamikdash. No, you can't do that. We're afraid there's going to have relations with Ishto Nida, right? So, what about vice versa? Imar Ben Sev Lom Rabbi Yechanan. Would have just mentioned Ben Sev and not mentioned Rabbi Yechanan. Would have just known the issue was Ishto Nida, not the issue that not learned out from Miluim. However, he said, if Rosh Yomita, so let him go. It's fine. Separate himself from his bed. That was from his wife. Yishana was so basic. Let him sleep at home. Why does he have to go to the base of the base of Mikdash? Have a tool of Rabbi Yechanan, so you need Rabbi Yechanan to tell us that no, we learned from Miluim. That's actually in the base of Mikdash. So he Ben Beseira to know that he can't have relations just during the day, and then do Harav Shemesh come to the base of Mikdash and say at night because of the Ishto Nida issue as well. All the offices, all the chambers in the base of Mikdash were exempt from mezuzah because they weren't made to sleep there, like an office, a business office. Excuse me. Shabbitin is not required in mezuzah. Except for the lishkas palhedrin, she dira lekohen gadol shivas yom mishana, because 7 days a year it is the dwelling place of the kohen gadol. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda said, no, 7 days is not enough to make a diras kvar. That's learning the carbon ada. He says it's not. So therefore, afi gzeira gazul allow. It's also a gzeira that they made it. It's interesting here. It's a gzeira is where you put the carbon ada. Shalo yom ruchol kohen gadol chodesh beis asurim. They shouldn't say the kohen gadol is locked up in a prison, because where's the mezuzah? So avon adin lo yachai mezuzah shein diras kvar. The idea it's not chayv in mezuzah because diras kva. It's not diras kva. It's not a permanent abode. But the Shas says differently. It says ein korban eid v'nir lefarish to Rabbi Yehuda plate the lishkas palhedrin lo mitam diras arai. Mitam shu kodesh. It's kodesh and kodesh, but mezuzah is not sharecha, as we're about to see. Okay, bisharecha in your gates. Is tani prat l'shari harbayis v'azoros. There are those who say it comes to exempt the Harabais and Zoros because they're Kodesh. Is Tani L'Rabos. Those who say that the Shah comes to include. In other words, they're also considered to be your gates. So Madamar Prat, Yusos Prat Sharecha precludes the mezuzah of the Beis HaMikdash either because they we're not going to Kormei was not really. I think Shas works out better, but Kormei because there's no dira there according to the Shas because they're kodesh, right? That's Rabbi Yehuda, right? They're precluded. And it was a special takana to put the mezuzah there, right? There shouldn't be beis asurim. Man Rabos is Rabbanon. Rabbanon. It was required either because it's a diras kev. It's sufficient of a dira. The fact that the Kohen was there for 7 days, according to Eda, according to the Shas, because it is, even though it's kodesh, it's still included b'sharecha. But again, as I said, it's works out much more glad just going straight over the Galina Shas. I'm going to read the rest. We're going to read the whole Gina Shas inside. Ein Karbev Nila Fresh Rabbi Yehuda Pait the Lishkas Pait Let me shum Diras Arai Rak Mishum the Mitam Shu Kodesh Zeh Shamar Manamar Prat Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan Mechayv Lishkas Pait Av Shu Kodesh Mechayv Eganki B'Sharei Harbais. They also require Sharei Harbais, so that would be the Nafkamina. We always bought it. According to Rabbanan, it says Mechayv Kodesh also Mechayv Sharei Harbais, which lead into the Beis HaMikdash, where as long as there was the Kohen Gadol slept there for those 7 days, that was like his diras k'bar. For those, I'll leave out this. It was his dira for 7 days. It's enough. So the Yosem Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda is saying good. My time is Rabbanan. Why would Rabbanan say this sharecha is marbe? So. Is it is the Beis HaMikdash a base dira that it should be included in the requirement of mezuzos? How is that working? So the truth is, again, going to the Shas, we're really asking on the Shari Harbayis, Azoros. Because, yeah, there was a base there, Lishkas Parhedrin. But the question is, with the Parhedrin? The Lashon is, but what about the Shari? Why should rest be Chayiv, right? So, hey, Sir Yosef Rabun. Yosef Rabun answered that question with a question. He responded. He said, Vatani Bisharechu Rabba Shari Medina. Oh, well, we see Bisharechu is also used by another Brisa to be Marba Shari Medina. The gates into a district. Based Erahain. Right? Based Era. So Gemara says, no, so obviously not, but Losh Benay Nichnasa based Era, since they're an entry to a based Era, is to go through and to get to a based Era. Here too, Shebahem Nichnasin the based Era. They will go into a based Era. So this is going to a based Era through them. The Chaim is a famous question of Chazanish. Why don't we put, why not require to put up mezuzahs on all our Erevin? Because every when you go through an Erev, go through the wall of an Erev, you're going eventually into a house. So any Erev, all the Tzuras HaPesach should have to have mezuzahs. And I believe the Chaznish's answer, if I recall correctly, is that we're afraid of vandalism. Otherwise, we would do it. So anytime you go through, there's a gate which leads you, Tzuras HaPesach, which leads you to a house, should be chayav in mezuzah. Right, that's when that from Bisharecha had some of the so that's why the not just the Lishkas Bahedrin itself is chayav, but even the gates which lead to into Harabais, eventually to the Lishkas Bahedrin, they're also chayav mezuzah. Before I go on to the next part, I believe there's some discussion. I just not recalling where it is offhand right now about, even though normally the shear of dira for mezuzah is 30 days. I think it's probably the Bavli, but don't remember offhand. The shear of mezuzah is normally 30 days. That's you're saying in a dira for 30 days, it's going to be a dira, but since it was kavua for the Kohen Gadol for these 7 days a year, so therefore it was he had to be there. So therefore it was a according to according to Pina is Chayav Mezuzah, not on account of Gzeira, but not like Rabbi Yehuda, but according to Rabbanan Minadin, it's because it was a Dira Kvua where he had to be for those 7 days. Something along. Yeah, I have interesting one, which I don't think is brought down in the Bavli, at least there's no matter Makuk, I don't recall it there. Chuldas HaMoilim. Many pshatim what Chuldas HaMoilim means. The Kormei says it's a tunnel. Chulda is a mole, so it's a tunnel, which is made for into a hill. Into a mountain. It says into a came gvos, kamo malya benatza b'abasra. So that's it's like a tunnel into a hillside. The Pnei Moshe says also Chulda's language of tunnel, like the Shari Chulda, where the tunnel entrance is in the base of Mikdash from the south side, where they went underground into the Harabais, and but Molim says where the Moalim put their tools. Reb Chaim brings down from the Meiri a girsa the Chalonos ha Malon, which means the windows. Evidently, these are like windows, not real doors, which went into these kind of ad hoc hotels, but they were like shelters along the roadside where people would have to spend the night, like a lean-to, I guess, of some sort. You might have to spend the night on occasion. So, so all these are whatever they are, chayav mezuzah. They're chayav mezuzah. Evidently considered be enough of a dira. If a person lives, or a person spends a lot of time in these structures, they're chayav mezuzah. And even a chalon, if it's a window to get in, which works out well with the Girsa Reb Chaim, shu arba, as long as it opens to a place which is 4 by 4 amos. Where in this case he gives an example of shavanim yeshisham nifim rabosayim. They where avodim sit there and they fan their through their masters. So evidently this is like a little room behind the main room where the avodim would stand with fans, fan their masters to cool them down. So they're chayav mezuzah. This is all considered to be tashmish dira, right? How long you have to be there? It's not specified. This is talking about some of it. Presumably, there's some sort of time where they have to actually sit there, or maybe just because it's leading into a bigger room. I don't know, but it's their chayav mezuzah. And leading into a big room, I don't think it's the pshat. So that's not, just scratch that. So lulim, elu agav elu chemezuzah. So lulim, the Korban says lulim are binya shevgalim lo shavasi targonim. He learns a kipshuto that's story about a chicken coop. Elu agav elu. If you have one on top of the other, he says is bein mechalon arba arba. Even though they don't have 4 by 4. They're still chayim and mezuzah. It's a little bit difficult. Somebody asked about 4 by 4. Otherwise, it's not going to chayim mezuzah because it's not the mimshir of a room. So the Bnei Moshe and the chayim seems to go with that pshat as well. It says lulim or something else. It means aliyah zulim al mizu. It's a trap door. Right? A lul is also a trap door from one level to another level. So if you have a trap door going from one level to another level, so they are chayiv in mezuzah. So each one is considered to be a threshold to the room on top of it, and the chayiv mezuzah. Hey, do doris askopta arisa. All are the thresholds down to the ground, right? So to wherever if they go, or I guess either way, because going back to the tunnels, right? So the tunnel's going down, or the trapdoor is going up. They're all in a scopa to the ground floor. So wherever there is, as long as one of these rooms is 4 by 4, so then wherever there is a doorway leading to it, that doorway is Chaim Zuzah. So I guess also thinking out loud now, the Chalon, the Chalon Shu Arba, I guess leads into a room which is 4 by 4. Not sure about that one, but anyway, all these these are considered to be a series of doors which lead into others. Also go back to the Sharach we said before, since they lead into a place as a Beis Dira. So whether it goes up, down, sideways, right? The Chalom of the Avodim is sideways actually, up, doesn't matter. They're all chayiv in mezuzah. I really think the Chalom is what is bothering me. I guess the Chiddush is, even though it's called a Chalom, it's called a window. It was actually a room 4 by 4. That's what it's going to say. Don't think that was called a Chalom because I guess it's a window fan window. Sorry, so it's made for fanning, so therefore it's not a room. No, it's a chalon. But the article does reference some sefer which says that 4 by 4 means 4 by 4 tefachim. But okay, but that's nobody else learns like that, so we'll just go with the 4 by 4 amos. So in any event, again, Hindu Doras Askoita Arisa. Wherever he's stepping, it's an askoip, but it's a threshold to get to the ground. The other ways learning that line, that line. But I think that's the way you learn it. And again, I think the Bnei Moshe is the most likely pshat here, and Lu goes up and the Chola goes down. But it says, and because the next line, Rabbi Yosef was upset. Lo chama lulav Rabbi Loi. He didn't see the lulav Rabbi Loi. So which according to the Korban was a chicken coop, but according to the Pnei Moshe and according to the Reb Chaim was a series of trapdoors, which was the Avi Daitun to Kol Rabbanan, which was made according to all the rabbis properly with the proper format for zuzah. As Pnei Moshe says, "Avi Daitun Kol Rabbanan she'asu lefi divrei hakol she'skimu imo." From mitzvah shelo also echayon oeg mezuzah. He was never able to get over there to see how it worked. Okay, so the Lishkas Parhedron. So the Kohen Gadol would go to this Lishkas Parhedron for the 7 days of Prisha. The Abba Shoya also Lishkas Bulvutin. He called this Lishka the Lishkas Bulvutin. Kabbalah says this Bulvutin Lishkas Sorim. Is language of Sorim of officials, masters. Gemara says, but Yerushalmi Yoma so Lishkas Bulvutin. Now, earlier they used to call it Lishkas Bulvutin. Yerushalmi Yoma so Lishkas Parhedron. They cause the Lishkas Palhedrin, which in the Bali it's Parhedrin. Paridosan Mila Avda. So the Dow chain says Paridosan Mila Avra. Parish Davis Manus. Paridosan is like an appointment. Mila Avra, which passes. It's Manus Over Tamid, which constantly passes. Because of Bashas, like it says above, so Bishana, that they would change it from year to year. But the Mashbiach has very unusual girsa here. He says an interpretation here. It says it should say par dain mila avida. Par pay resh with an apostrophe. Dain mila avida. In other words, a certain magia in the Yerushalmi. So he put what is known as Yerushalmi, and the margin eventually read into Yerushalmi itself. He made a notation of himself that the word is not palhedrin with a lamed, but parhedrin with a resh, like it is in the Bali. So par, pay resh, dain, this mila avda word should be. And he has a whole discussion about how these hagos got into the Yerushalmi. So he said, Barishon, the first base of Mikdash, Shum Shamshin Hu Beno Vem Beno, then they went from father to son. Shim Shabosh Manaseh Kohanim, there were 18 Kohanim going throughout the entire first base of Mikdash period. Abu Sheni, but in the second base of Mikdash, Aideshu Notli Domi, they would take money. In other words, they would buy from the Romans or whoever the authorities were that the right to the service Kohen Gadol. So whoever gave more money they would take away the first one and give the second one to the next one. They would kill each other with kshafim. In other words, they were adept, I guess somehow, in some magic, they were able to kill each other. Shimshu bo shmonim kohanim. There were 80 kohanim gedolim. Yeshim shmonim echad. Some say 81. Yeshim shmonim shnayim. Some say 82. Yeshim shmonim b'shol. Some say 83. Yeshim shmonim ba'arba. Some say 84. Yeshim shmonim chamesh. 85. So there are many Gersos in this Yerushalmi. The Torah and Shavishayim brings down, or I shouldn't say this in the Yerushalmi, but many alternative Gersos. There was in the Sifri. It says there are 80 quantum for Bayis Rishon and 300 in Bayis Sheni, right? And I believe that's in the Babli as well. The 300. I think in the Babli it doesn't say 80 for Bayis Rishon, and then he brings down several other Gersos. But in any event, there were very few in Bayis Rishon and a lot in Bayis Sheni. Umehen and our Masorah is that Bayis Sheni was last for 420 years. So Umehen from those years. To take out 40 years, Shimsha Tzadik, Shimon Tzadik are Boim Shana, or 40 of those years were for Shimon Tzadik. So yeah, the 80 or 81, 82, 83 to 45 over the course of 380 years. Rabbi Yachad. Rabbi Yachad says, "Ksiv." It says, "Yiras Hashem Tosif Yomim." Fear of God adds days. Elu Kohanim Shishu Bayis Rishon. Even though a lot of people wicked, the Kohanim Gedolim were righteous, and there are very few Kohanim Gedolim. Shnos Yishoim Tiktzorna. The years of Yishoim are shortened. Elu Shishu Bayis Sheni. They had many Kohanim Gedolim because they were not good people. It was a mice with the person who sent to in his son's hand 2 measures of silver, which are filled with silver. And they also going with the second shot in the Korban Eder here. The tool they used in order to smooth off the top so that it should be not heaped up. That also was made of silver. So the keli was silver, it's full of silver, and it was the keli with which you mechik, it was also silver. The other shot is that the heap itself was silver. In other words, the mechukein means not the tool used, but the heap itself was silver. So he was so the guy sent to the this amount of silver, a lot in order to be appointed Kohen Gadol. Uba Acher. Somebody else came. Sheb Yabino and sent without in his son's hands. Shtemio Shazov, 2 golden measures. Mleos full of gold. Mukain Zav, right? And also wherever the mechuka was gold as well. Gold as well. They said concerning such a story, kafa hasiach. Hasiach is like here a wild donkey. Kafa hasiach menorah. The donkey kicked over the menorah. So Chaim brings down the source for this marshal. There's a certain min that Bikoros came to judgment in front of Rabbi Gamliel, and he brought. Sorry, the min was the judge. Sorry, the judge was a min, and one of them brought a menorah, and he passed in his favor. And the next day, the other guy brought a donkey, and he passed in the other guy's favor. So Gamliel said, the donkey came and kicked over the menorah. So too, the guy who brought the gold kicked over the guy who brought the silver, and he got it. Okay, I think this brings us to the bottom of the page. That's 2 days in a row, I think now we've got to the bottom of the page precisely, and the next page is the new sugya. So we'll stop here again today.